Here it
All right,
goes.
I'm in my sensei mode.
Welcome, everybody, to football. We are back. The Fat Boys are back from last season. Fantasy Holics are ready to go, Brant. It is week one of the National Football League. We got started out to a good treat Thursday night with the Chiefs and the Lions, and we are back for some Sunday football. We've got a great slate of games today. It is time, Brant.
It's like Christmas morning, waking up early and just waiting to unwrap your presents. You got to wait just a little bit longer, But right now, you get to stare underneath the tree and see what's all there as you're going through your fantasy teams and everything. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning, and it's ready to go.
All right, Brant. So let's talk about this. What are the games that you're looking forward to watching on the? Let's start with the noon slate. Where are you at on the noon slate?
On the noon slate, I talked about your Panthers and Falcons game earlier in our cast on one earlier this week. But another one that really intrigues me is this Jags Colts. I'd like to see that Ridley, the Ridley Lawrence connection. I want to see what that's like, and then I want to see Anthony Richardson. I think that out of all the rookies this week, I think he will be the highest fantasy points out of all the rookie quarterbacks this week. And but I really would like to see what that Colts offense is going to look like without JT and with Anthony Richardson behind center.
Fair enough. I tell you, Brant, for me, I'm looking forward to the San Francisco 49ers Pittsburgh game. I can't get enough of that one. I want to see what Kenny Pickett looks like. I want to see what CMC's role is. I want to see what Najee's role is. I'm ready to go. Brant, you know who else is ready to go? Colby is ready to go. Our first question of the new year. In a 14-team full PPR, one quarterback league, should I roster a second quarterback on my bench? I have Lamar Jackson and Jimmy G, or do I drop Jimmy for more bench upside? Brant, what's your take on this?
I don't know when the Ravens bye week is, but I think I'd probably drop Jimmy and get that more upside, or at least drop Jimmy and get ready to pick up that week one waiver guy. That way you don't have to really make that decision. You can make that decision right now and take your chance of getting that better week one, or even maybe go out and take a stab at a guy that you really like, maybe going off this week and could be the new waiver target. We talked about that earlier this week on some of the names.
Yeah, so I typically tend to agree with you here, Brant. The only problem is 14-team league. If you get one person hoarding quarterbacks and you drop Jimmy G, you could find yourself in a predicament. Now, you are lucky Baltimore has a week 13 bye week, so you get 13 straight weeks. You can probably stand to take an L week 13 potentially. You'll know where your season is at that point. But I think I keep Jimmy G for the time being, unless you need to drop him due to injuries or something. I think I keep him, Brant.
Sure.
All right, Chris, I need some advice. PPR, I'm trying to figure out my running back 2 and flex. My options are J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Walker, Raheem Mostert, Breece Hall, Treylon Burks, or Marquise Brown. Thanks and appreciate you guys. All right, Brant, anything stand out in this to you?
Does. He's going against the worst rush defense in the NFL. I know, he typically is on the IR, so you got to use him while you can. And I think this is a great setup for Dobbins to start this week in a run-heavy offense. So I like J.K. Dobbins this week. He's one of my must-starts actually on my list today.
Yeah, I'm going to go Raheem Mostert right now as a must-start. No Devin Achane, no Jeff Wilson. I think Raheem Mostert, I'm rolling the dice on there as well. But since you need two, I actually think you probably go with Raheem Mostert and J.K. Dobbins.
That's exactly where I would go. I don't trust Kenneth Walker. He had that groin re-aggravation earlier this week. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Mostert and Dobbins as well.
All right. Amy's jumping in here. Amy says, good morning, Amy. Here we go. I have a lot of questions. Pick one for each set. Standard PPR. One, who do you like between Herbert and Geno, Brant?
Taking Herbert.
Herbert, I agree. Number two, Cousins or Tua? Who do you like between Cousins and Tua today?
Give me Tua in that shootout.
Yeah, I'm taking Tua. I think Kirk Cousins could be on the shelf early in this game if they get up to a big lead on Tampa Bay. And number three, Lawrence or Geno. So you've got your Seattle Seahawks against the Rams, and you've got Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Indy. Brant, where are you at on that one? I'm
taking Lawrence. I think Lawrence is a top 10 QB as much as it pains me to continue to pick it against Geno, I have to go with Trevor Lawrence.
I'm going Lawrence as well. Sutton or Lockett?
Give me Lockett. Just consistency. I like his upside this week too. Against he scored a touchdown, and I think it was the last 4 games against the Rams. So give me Tyler Lockett.
I'll take Sutton just again. I think Brant, your Seahawks probably get up early in that game. No Cooper Kupp in Los Angeles. I think there's a good chance that they're up early and you're running the clock down with ball carriers late in the game. Jahan Dotson, Raheem Mostert, Dalvin Cook, or Zay Flowers. Brant, who do you like in this group today?
It would have been Dotson all the way up until McLaurin said he is going to see the field. So I think I actually go with Mostert there. I think he's probably the safest play. He's guaranteed to see the ball multiple times, and there's really not a whole lot that scares me away from him being on the field.
I'm between Mostert and Dalvin Cook on this one. The Jets did come out and say that Dalvin Cook will probably be getting a heavy load week 1 as their RB1. So I'm between the two of them. Either one's fine with me there. Najee, Sanders, or Javonte Williams. Brant, who do you prefer out of those 3 running backs?
That one's tough. Najee's got such a tough matchup. I mean, the volume should be there. I think I have to start Najee. I think he was the highest drafted out of all 3 of those. I think I have to go with your stud.
It's Najee. I'm not putting Javonte on the field until I see what Javonte's ready to do. 7, Ayuk, Juju, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson. I just think he's going to be a target monster this year, and I absolutely love him.
Deontay Johnson. Number 8, Deontay Johnson, Ayuk, or Sutton. Pick one of those, Brant.
Johnson again.
Yep, Deontay Johnson. Pick 3, standard PPR. George Pickens, Akers, Van Jefferson, Javonte Williams, Scary Terry, Deion Jackson, or Jerry Jeudy.
Now, Judy's most likely not going to suit up, so I think that takes him out. Seattle couldn't stop the running back through the middle last year, so I think I start Akers as one. Deion Jackson, I think, will be the guy there, so I'll start him. And that third one's tough. I think I start Pickens.
I go with the same 3, Brant. We're unanimous on those last 3. That's right where I'm at.
Okay.
All right. Jonathan says PPR, Stevenson or Walker. Any concern with Stevenson's illness lingering?
No, I don't have any concern with it. I think he'll suit up and play. I don't think they're going to put too much whole game faith in Elliott, so I'm going to go with Stevenson on that one.
Yeah, Zeke does make me a little cautious, but not enough. I was still drafting Stevenson as often as I could, Brant. So I'm going with Stevenson here because while there's the same concerns about Zeke, there's also the Charbonnet concerns. Let's see what both these backfields look like in a week. But this week, I'm going to take the Stevenson side of it. Great to see you guys again. Would you play Herbert or Judy in your flex spot? Wide receiver Garrett Wilson and Keenan. Running back Bijan and Stevenson. Great to see you again as well. I speak for both of us here, but we're both happy as heck to be back. Football's here. We're both like 2 fat kids at a cake shop. So Brant, Herbert or Judy, given the fact that Judy's probably out, where do you go with this?
No, it's going to be Herbert.
Again, I'm the same way. I'd rather go Judy here, but I doubt Judy plays. Herbert scares me. I really don't want any piece of that Bears running back field until I see what it actually shakes out at. So we'll see. Tony says, good morning, fellas. Looking forward to another great season. Love y'all show. I got 2 questions with Waller popping up questionable late and playing Sunday night. Roll with him or go back up Ingram. So let's start with that half, Brant. Do you wait to see if you have Waller, or with a feasible backup like Evan Ingram, do you go ahead and just play Ingram?
I'm playing Waller. It sounds like he's going to play, and I think he's going to be a target monster in that shootout. So I'm going to take the gamble and take Waller.
I actually think Evan Ingram finishes the season better than Darren Waller. So I think you got your backup and your starter backwards here, from my opinion. But I think I go with Evan Ingram because if the simple fact is, if you miss out on Darren Waller and he doesn't play, you're left with either his backup and Daniel Bellinger. or you're going to have to try to get Dawson Knox or Tyler Conklin late. So I don't think I'd sit and let that happen. I go ahead and get my points while I can. And then number 2 is Stevenson versus Eagles, or Bijan Jr. or Brian Robinson Jr. versus the Cardinals. Sorry, Bijan's on the brain today. I want to see what that looks like, Brant. This one feels pretty obvious to me, but maybe it's not as obvious as it should be. Where are you at on these two, Brant?
Oh, with Robinson versus the Cardinals. That's just good. They're just going to have to hand the ball off after the second quarter. So I expect Brian Robinson to have a huge day.
Yeah, I tend to lean toward Brian Robinson on Wednesday night's episode that we recorded, Brant. Robinson was my stud of the week, him and Gibson. I think those running backs in the Commanders' backfield both have a really good week this week, but it's very hard to advocate for sitting Ramondre Stevenson. So I guess we go with Brian Robinson here and hope that he has a good game. All right. Next question, Brant. You want to go ahead and take this one?
PPR is Dobbins or Nico Collins in the flex spot. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, with Dobbins being questionable, I think
Dobbs.
I go with Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs.
Sorry. With Dobbs being limited, I think I go with actually Nico Collins here. I think they're going to have to play catch up and throw the ball quite a bit. I like Collins this week. Dobbs, it scares me with it being a 3:00 game too, because who knows, maybe he retweaks it and then you're kind of left sitting on the shelf unless you got something else and you're on your bench to replace him with.
What do you do with that second part of the question where he says he could pick Jalen Reed up if he has to?
Pick him up, and I expect big things out of him this season. I don't know what week 1 will go with, but I would be picking up Reed. And if you choose Dobbs, then you have that backup to fall on. But I still think I go with Nico Collins. I know that they're going to be playing from behind, and I think they're going to pass it a lot.
Brant, I think we're probably both in agreement on this. I think I'd probably rather have Jaden Reed for the season than Romeo Dobbs, personally, just due to their draft capital. And I still think Christian Watson leads that team in yards and touchdowns. I think either Dobbs or Jalen Reed will lead the team in receptions, and I tend to think it's going to be Reed this year, Brant. We got one of the co-hosts of our Wednesday pod, Pat, coming in here hot. How much do you downgrade Jordan Love with no Watson and a limited Romeo Dobbs? I think this is a fairly fair question to ask, Brant, because there's been a lot of Jordan Love hype this offseason. I've been counting myself among those people that were very excited to see what Jordan Love can do, what the Green Bay Packers offense looks like in the absence of Aaron Rodgers. I still think with Luke Musgrave and what he's looked like in the offseason and Aaron Jones, that Jordan Love is a feasible starter. I still think there's probably better options out there. I am lowering my expectations of him a little bit this week. He doesn't have that home run playability without Christian Watson on the field. There's no real field stretcher there. So I'm lowering expectations a little bit. Brant, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to lower them this week just a little bit with both of those guys, either out or limited. But I do expect a decent season from him. I think he'll be right there in the QB top 15 fantasy quarterbacks talk by the end of the year. But yeah, this week you got a limited. I think they're going to lean a lot on Dillon and Jones out of the backfield. So I'm gonna temper expectations this week.
Okay. Kevin says Dalton Schultz or Taysom Hill.
Schultz. I don't trust Taysom Hill any week of the year. I'll go Schultz.
I too am going Schultz here. And that brings us into another Schultz question, Brant. Colby says, do you guys feel like Cole Kmet is exciting this year? Would you roll him or Schultz season long? And would you hold both or pick up one and open a bench spot? Thanks. Or pick one and open a bench spot.
I'm holding both. I'm starting Schultz this week just because I want to see what this Bears offense actually looks like. I think Justin Fields is going to have an amazing year. I've talked about that quite a bit. But yeah, I'm holding on to both of them. Like I said, I'm starting Schultz. This Bears offense could turn into something fun, really, to watch if Fields upgrades his accuracy a little bit. So I'm holding on to both of them.
Yeah, Brant, this looks like my tight end room for our home dynasty league right here. I have Cole Kmet going today, just because I do think the Packers defense scares me a little bit less than the Baltimore Ravens defense. And my goodness, did CJ Stroud look like it was going to be a tough start to start the season there in Houston. So I'm waiting to see what I have in CJ Stroud before I roll out Dalton Schultz in my dynasty lineups. So I'm going Cole Kmet, but yeah, I think you hold them both because I think Cole Kmet's going to be very streaky this year. So, Jennifer, good to see you again. With Andrews out, do I pick up Everett or Likely off of waivers, Brant? So do you go with Mark Andrews' direct replacement for a week and then drop him back after Andrews comes back, or do you go with Gerald Everett?
I'm taking Likely because if Andrews misses more than this week, you already have his direct backup there. So if you're able to hold him all year, that way you don't have any issues. If Andrews does miss, you roll right into Likely. You don't have to worry about it. So I'm taking Likely, and I'm going to try to find a way to hold on to him just in case this is a repetitive thing all year.
Man, my gut tells me I want to get Everett this week to pair with Justin Herbert. I think the Chargers-Miami game ends up being an absolute shootout. Again, how much is Baltimore passing in the second half of this game, Brant? I worry about that. I think I potentially go with Everett. But again, I think Likely is a nice option to pivot to just in case Mark Andrews is out an extended amount of time. I expect him back, though, next week. So I think with that being said, I go Everett here. All right, Brant, here it's your time. It's time to shine. You got your first Chargers wide receiver question of the day. Mike Williams or Jamal Williams? Which Williams do you go with here?
I think you go Mike Williams. I expect that game to be a huge shootout. So I'm going to go with Mike Williams. And then the Titans actually had a top 7 rushing defense last year. So I think the Saints are going to have to pass the ball a lot more than people are expecting. So I actually think I'm going to go with Mike Williams here.
Okay. Keenan Allen to the moon, baby. I do actually think I'm going to go ahead and go with Jamal Williams in this one. Kendre Miller is unlikely. Alvin Kamara had that suspension. So Jamal Williams should be the focal point of the Saints backfield, which means he should be in line for the pass catching work as well this week, which we typically don't see him get out of that backfield. But with New Orleans at Tennessee, I think this is going to be an absolute slugfest. I think you're going to see a lot of Derrick Henry on the Tennessee side of things. Jamal Williams, this could be one of the lower scoring games of the week. Both these teams have very capable defenses as well. So I do think I'm going with Jamal Williams just because I think that's a game where both teams have the running game going all day long and it never goes away. So I think I do go with Jamal Williams in this one, Brant. And because you picked the Chargers wide receiver, I'm going the opposite direction.
Sorry about the motorcycle right outside the window.
All right. Kayla says, Scary Terry or DJ Moore?
I love DJ Moore this season, but I absolutely hate his matchup this week. He goes against one of the top corners in the league. I hate that Terry is struggling with that turf toe. This is such a tough one. I absolutely see why you're asking.
Yeah, Brent, I go DJ Moore. Let me make your decision a little bit easier, okay? Chicago Bears go out and trade the first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. They get a haul back, but they absolutely demand DJ Moore. They want a weapon for Justin Fields. This is going to be a whole offseason's worth of planning. There's going to be a lot of scheming to get the ball in DJ Moore's hands today in Chicago. Regardless of who's lining up against him, they're going to manifest touches and targets today. I go DJ Moore in this matchup. Scary Terry not being completely healthy scares me. I'm out on DJ Moore season long, but week 1, I take DJ Moore.
I think I go with DJ Moore as well, just because that injury scares me. He could be out there for one snap and then it re-aggravate.
All right. Let's see here. Chris says, morning, guys. Sorry, I had one more question. Wide receiver 2, I have George Pickens in that spot. I don't feel very comfortable week 1 going against the 49ers, but not a big fan of my other options, which are Marquise Brown, Treylon Burks, and Brandon Cooks. Brant, do you see any of those that you like more than Pickens this week?
No, I think I'm starting Pickens. I'm not a fan of his matchup, but if they have to take away Najee and Johnson and Freiermuth, then maybe Pickens ends up catching everything. So I think I go with Pickens.
Yeah, I think I'm there too. Marquise Brown and Brandon Traylon Burks for me is out until I see what his role looks like. With Chig there at tight end, and then the newly acquired DeAndre Hopkins. I want to see what Burks' role is. Brown, gosh, the quarterback play in Arizona makes me so nervous, Brant. And then Brandon Cooks, where's he fall in the pecking order? Is he number 2 behind CeeDee Lamb? If so, that's intriguing. But if he's behind Gallup and Jake Ferguson, then maybe less so. So I think I go with George Pickens because I know he should have a role. He was hyper targeted the last 6 weeks of the season in Pittsburgh. So I think I go with Pickens in this one. Again, he's gonna see tough matchups on the corners in San Francisco, Brant. But this is one of those guys that thrives on jump balls. He doesn't need separation to be effective, and I don't think he gets much separation. He's not the most quick guy in the league, but I think you do go ahead and go with George Pickens in this one. Okay, Brent, 3 o'clock slate. What are you looking for here?
3 o'clock. Oh, my Seahawks game. That Dolphins-Chargers game, it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be fantasy relevancy everywhere and anywhere. So absolutely going to be keeping an eye on that one. As I have the Seahawks game on the TV, I'll have that Chargers-Dolphins game on the smaller screen.
I'm looking forward to the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to the Denver Broncos, Brant. I want to see what Jimmy G and Devontae Adams look like together, and I cannot wait to see if Russell Wilson gets this thing back on track in Denver or not. I know a lot of people, yourself included, Brant, really think there's a strong possibility of Russ having a bounce-back season. I want to see if that starts today.
Okay.
All right, we got some more questions flowing in here. Let's see if I can get on one. All right, we got Juwan Johnson or Pat Freiermuth from Tony, Brant. Where do you lean on this one?
I'm actually going with Johnson on this. I talked about I do not like Freiermuth this week. San Fran's one of the best defenses against tight ends, and I expect that passing game for New Orleans to really take off this week going against Tennessee. So I'm actually going to go with Johnson, and I hope that he finds the end zone there.
Okay, I think I go with Juwan Johnson out of these two as well. Fred Warner on my tight end is something that definitely makes me a little nervous. So let's go Juwan Johnson here. Amy's coming back again. She says, I have Kelsey. I need a tight end for today. Here are my options. I can drop Quentin Johnston, Juju Smith-Schuster, or Samaje Perine and pick up either Juwan Johnson, Luke Musgrave, or Jake Ferguson. Or she can drop her kicker and go with no kicker, take a 0 at the kicker points for a tight end. What do you think here, Brant?
It's a lot going on here. A lot going on. I'll grab the coffee for this one here. Oh, man. I don't want to drop any of those. And if I had to drop one, I think I'm dropping Johnston. But if this is a dynasty, you don't want to.
I'm completely opposite. I think Juju with his knee concerns and Samaje Perine, who loses targets or loses touches as Javonte Williams continuously gets more healthy. I think I keep Johnston. He should get better as the season goes on. The other two will regress.
I think you drop one of those. Go ahead and drop one of those, either Juju or Perine. And I'm picking up Musgrave. I think that's going to be the best one to start this week. I'm not taking a 0 at a kicker spot because Lord knows we've seen it before. Next thing you know, your kicker is going to wind up catching a pass and then throwing a pass into the end zone for a touchdown. And you're like sitting there with 14 points, just sitting there going, oops.
Yeah, I think I go Luke Musgrave too, Brant. I think that's the best option here with possibly no Romeo Doubs, or in a limited fashion if he does play, and no Christian Watson. Somebody's catching passes from Love today. And Luke Musgrave's been very highly accredited all offseason as looking good. As far as the drop goes, again, go with your gut here. I am nervous about Juju. There was some injury concerns about knee issues. Somebody said that it could explode at any time. And then again, Samaje Perine's probably going to have value early. Why Javonte works back from his knee injury. So I think the drop probably is Juju for me if I had to pick one, but just go with your gut there. Steven says, good morning, Brees Hall or Deion Jackson on half-point PPR, Brant?
Going Deion Jackson there. Hall, I have no idea what his role is going to be, so I'm going to go with Jackson.
Yeah, I also go with Deion Jackson this week. Brees Hall he could be out there and have 5 touches. He could have 20. I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be Dalvin Cook as Brees Hall eases himself back into it. I think I'd go with Deion Jackson, who I expect to get more than just a few touches this week. Jennifer says, I have Waller and intend to wait it out since we think he'll play. If he don't, do I pick up Knox or Conklin, Brant? Which of those two do you prefer if Waller does not play?
That's a tough one. I think I go with Dawson Knox. I just think he's the better overall value there. So I think I go with Knox. That's a tough one.
I go Knox. I think Kincaid ultimately ends up being the best tight end there, but these things take time. So I do think I go Knox as well this week. All right. Dame says, how you guys doing? Shig or Kincaid in a dynasty league PPR? In a dynasty, I think out of the two, I think I prefer Kincaid, but Shig was great last year. In a perfect world, I'd keep both of them. But Brant, where are you at with that first part of this?
I'm keeping both, and I think I'm actually going to start Kincaid this week. Sauce should be lined up with Diggs, so Kincaid should be open a lot more, and I expect Kincaid to have a big week this week.
Okay, and then he says PPR, Addison, James Cook, or Odell as one flex.
I'm going with Cook.
Yeah, yep. Cook screams the obvious one here, Brant. And he says, go ahead.
Flex option in Dynasty, Mike Evans, Cooks, Van Jefferson, or A.J. Dillon. I'm going with Mike Evans. I like him this week. I'm actually going to go with Mike Evans, I think.
Yeah, I think I go Mike Evans as well. Mike Evans in a dynasty especially could get really interesting as the season goes on, but I too think I go with Mike Evans here, Brant. Dame follows this up. He says, lastly, Devonta Smith or Chris Olave need a flex option this week. Thank you. Wow. I'd love to see the rest of your wide receivers, Dame, because that is a heck of a problem having to sit one of Devonta Smith or Chris Olave. Brant, if you had to put one of these two on the bench this week, where do you go?
I'm going with Olave. I expect them, like I said, to open that pass game up a lot. So I expect Olave to be the beneficiary of that.
Yeah, I expect Olave to be the one in his offense this year. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Devonta Smith finish with better stats than Olave. But A.J. Brown should be the focal point in that offense. And the New England defense just makes me slightly nervous. I'm not calling for an upset by any stretch, but it makes me nervous. I think I go with Chris Olave on this one by the slightest of margins. Brant, I'll let you take this one as well. You got Pops on here.
Oh, what's up, Pops? You go Pierce or Dobbins? You go Dobbins. End of story, Dobbins. Neither one of us trust Pierce, and so I'm going to go with Dobbins.
Yeah, Jeff, I can't believe your son allowed you to draft Dameon Pierce.
And hold up, this is a league against me, so yes, I'm going to allow him to draft him.
Okay. But yeah, I think you take the guy facing the easier defense, and in this case, obviously, it is Dobbins against the Texans rather than Pierce against the Ravens. So I go Dobbins as well. Justin says, is Smith and Jigba worth picking up on waivers? So I'll defer to you, Mr. Seattle. What do you think here?
Yes, I think he is. I think Seattle really opens up that offense. I think as the season goes on, Jackson Smith will have a big role in that offense. So yes, in a PPR form, absolutely. I think he could be seeing 7 to 8 targets a game with 4 or 5 receptions a game. So yes, I do. I think he's a very good pickup.
Yeah, I think he's definitely worth a roster stash. I think there's a small chance that you don't see what JSN's total value is until later in the season. But this guy could be a league winner if there's an injury to either DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. I think he steps right into either one of those roles and exceeds. But if everybody's healthy, I think expectations have to be a little lower on him, but he's definitely worth rostering. Ryan, what's up? Ryan, here's a blast from the past. DJ Moore, Cam Akers on the flex. Brant, I think we're probably pretty unanimous on this one. It's got to be Cam Akers, right?
Yeah, until Seattle can show they can stop a running back. I'm starting any running back against Seattle, and I absolutely hate saying that, but until they prove it, I'm starting any running back against them.
All right, fair enough. Here's one that I think you and I will both be very excited to answer. Kevin says, who do you see taking over the backfield in Philly, Swift or Penny?
I don't know if you have the name on there, actually. All preseason, I thought we both were on the same page with Penny, but everything I'm reading, everything I'm seeing, it sounds like it might be Gainwell listed as the one. Out of those two, I think Penny actually will take over out of those two.
My stance has changed a little bit as well, Brant. I think DeAndre Swift has a chance here. I think this will be a very muddied, watered backfield. I think you'll see injuries potentially to all three of Gainwell, Swift, and Penny at different times over the course of the season. But if I have to go with who's the most electric out of the three, who's got the chance to rip the biggest runs, who's got the chance to catch the most passes, I got to go DeAndre Swift here. And that tastes like the nastiest cough medicine you could take coming out of my mouth, Brant. I'm not a DeAndre Swift fan at all here, but I do think I tend to lean DeAndre Swift a little more now than I did just a few weeks ago. So your dad agrees with me on this one, not IR Penny, he says. All right, Patrick's got another good question here for us. This one I like. Which rookie not named Bijan has the biggest week one? Bijan, Robinson. We'll go with Robinson.
Are there any more that are healthy and actually going to play week one that I'm just missing here?
You got Anthony Richardson starting. You got all these quarterbacks starting. I mean, yeah, there's plenty playing. So.
I was focused on the running back there, not named Bijan. I go Anthony Richardson. I know, Patrick, you're in and out on him and not completely sold, but I think Richardson has the biggest week out of all the rookies that are starting this week. I was focused in on that running back point. That's where I was at.
You ready? You ready for this bold take, Brant?
What you got?
Quentin Johnston catches a touchdown pass in that shootout today. I think he's going to have three catches, about 60 yards, and a touchdown. So I'm going Quentin Johnston this week. Go a little off the cusp, throw something a little random out there. I think it's Quentin Johnston this week. Hector says, what's up, guys? 1 point PPR. I have Andrews iffy to play today. Which tight end should I play if he doesn't go? Dulcich or Jake Ferguson?
Dulcich. I believe in that a little bit more there than Ferguson, and I don't think Andrews is going to play, so I'm going to go with Dulcich.
Yeah, I also think I go Greg Dulcich here, Brant. That Denver at Vegas, that's a divisional matchup, a conference opponent. I think these two teams know each other very well, but without Judy, I think Russ is going to have to throw to somebody other than Cortland Sutton. Brant, I know you're hopeful that it's Marvin Mims a decent amount as well. Greg Dulcich was one of the favorite targets. And there was that offseason speak where, Sean Payton made mention of Greg Dulcich getting an Alvin Kamara-esque role, which I'm not sure how that looks for a tight end. But I'm excited to see what Dulcich does in Denver, and I think you get a lot of telling signs today. I'm rolling with Dulcich with a decent amount of confidence. Brant, you want to take this one?
I need a running back and a flex. I got James Conner, Jamal Williams, Godwin, and Devonta Smith. Wow, okay. It's pretty good names there. Not going to go with Conner just because I feel like if Washington just focuses in on him and just stops him, they completely obliterate the Cardinals even more than they already planned on it. I think I go with Smith and Jamal Williams actually there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Smith and Jamal Williams.
Yeah, Brant, I think I go Jamal Williams for sure. Now, where it gets iffy for me is I don't expect Tampa Bay to, or I think Tampa Bay is going to have to throw a bunch to keep up with Minnesota. There's really no defense in this game. I think there's a good chance Chris Godwin has a decent day today. I think I go with Godwin just because I think the volume's there more so than there will be in Philly. So I go Jamal Williams and Godwin. Smith would not upset me either. This is a very good problem to have, Jennifer. I think you're in a good spot there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kevin. He says, "Are we safe to drop Kadarius Toney after that Thursday night performance?"
That's all you, buddy. That's all you. I'm
No.
handing that one to you.
No, you don't drop Kadarius Toney. Listen, what Brant? What do you remember after Week 1 last year when Christian Watson had that drop right into the breadbasket that would have been a touchdown for Green Bay? Do you remember what you said to me that night?
Oh, there goes all the trust in Rodgers.
There goes all of Rodgers' trust, probably done for him, right? Christian Watson came back out and had a fantastic season for fantasy. It was fine. Kadarius Toney's got a ton of upside still. And listen, there was a lot of drops in that offense, period. Jerick McKinnon, who's a very sure-handed running back, had a drop. It's not like any of the other wide receivers came out and looked exceptional in his absence or in the whatever, in comparison to Kadarius. The best one you could make the case for was Rashee Rice. But if he doesn't have that touchdown, he just has a ho-hum game as well. I don't drop Kadarius Toney yet. Maybe after week 3 if we're still seeing the same problems. Patrick Mahomes is super quick to come out and defend Kadarius. I think I wait a couple weeks and see if this is a season-long problem that he's got, or if it was just week 1 he was iffy to play for several days leading into it. Brant, I think you're probably more on the line of drop Kadarius Toney. You've never really been a huge fan, and I understand that. But I want to wait and see what I have, just because it is Patrick Mahomes, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, those wide receivers get a slight bit more open when Travis Kelce's on the field as well. So I want to wait and see what I got. All right, Brant, here you go. Kevin says, Mike Evans or DeAndre Hopkins today?
Give me Mike Evans there. I got to see what that Tennessee passing game is actually going to look like. So give me Mike Evans on that one.
I go DeAndre Hopkins. I'd rather catch passes or have somebody catching passes from Ryan Tannehill than Baker Mayfield. Baker's very up and down in his career. We'll see. And again, if you're asking me to pick between Mike Evans and DeAndre Hopkins on their best day, I'm taking DeAndre Hopkins, period. So we'll see. I know Mike Evans is probably a little disgruntled after failing to get his contract done. So we'll see. I think I go DeAndre Hopkins. I want to see. They're both these guys have got different situations coming than what they had last year. Evans is going from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. DeAndre is going from Kyler Murray and the Arizona Hopkins to Ryan Tannehill. So we'll see. Mark says Christian. Good Lord. He says
You're
Walker
welcome.
or Christian Kirk. Thank you. Half point PPR, Brant. And half point PPR, who do you take, Walker or Kirk?
Jags have the Colts. Give me Kirk. I don't trust that Seattle backfield. I've got to see what it looks like. I have both Walker and Charbonnet both benched in our dynasty league, and some of the ones that I'm replacing them with, I'm questionable about. But I'm taking Kirk. I've got to see what that Seattle backfield looks like.
Brant, give me Kenneth Walker this week against the Rams in Seattle. I think you guys come out and put on a show this week. Neither one of us expect the Rams to put up much competition against you guys this week. I think there'll be plenty of opportunity for both Charbonnet and Walker to show what they've got. And I just don't know how I feel about Christian Kirk this year with Ridley healthy, Evan Ingram back, Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, Zay Jones. All those guys are still down there. Yeah, I think I want to go with Kirk. I think early in the season, Brant, unless I know what I have in a wide receiver, I think I tend to lean the safety of a running back. just because I know there's guaranteed value there. I know it's not always the sexy play. It's not going to hit. You're not going to necessarily hit a home run unless Kenneth Walker finds the end zone. But I know Kenneth Walker can catch passes. I know he's going to have a decent amount of touches. I don't know if I can say the same for Christian Kirk because I think Ridley and Ingram get the lion's share of the passes there today. So I'm just nervous about the Jaguars wide receiver room outside of Calvin Ridley. So for this week, I'm going Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
Brant, I got a question for you. Had you heard that the Fantasy Holics have a partnership with Underdog Fantasy?
I do. And if you deposit, you get double your deposit back in plays with the Underdog Fantasy. And Underdog has a very good promo going on this week. And I think we'll talk about that here in just a moment.
Yeah. So again, Underdog Fantasy, it's one of the best fantasy betting sites out there. Brant and I have used it well before the sponsorship and the partnership came to be. But if you jump on there, you deposit and use the promo code HOLICS, they'll double your initial deposit up to $100. So again, that gets you through the season and a lot of times. And Brant and I are going to come at you every single week with our plays of the week. And Brant, what better time to start that than right now? All right, Brant, you had alluded to a very good prop they were giving us this week. If you want to go ahead and hit on that first.
They got Saquon Barkley to go over or go higher or lower than a half a yard this week. That's a free square they're giving you. He's going to get the ball at least once, and he's going to fall forward. So he should at least get 1 yard. So I'm going to take Barkley to go higher than a half a yard. And I believe that's rushing or receiving. It's total, correct?
It's total.
Yeah.
All right, so let's run through our other list of plays real quick, Brant. Give me your first one, and we'll get through these real quick, and then we'll get right back to answering you guys' start-sit questions.
My first one's Nick Chubb over 76.5 rushing yards. He hit this in his last 4 games of last year, and he's hit it in the last 2 week 1 games. They're going against Cincy. They should rely very heavily on Chubb.
Okay. I have Deshaun Watson going higher than 23 and a half rush yards, Brant. This is a guy that we've always known to be very mobile, and he's gonna be scrambling in that backfield, finding time for his wide receivers to get open against those Bengals. And he went over 23 and a half rushing yards 5 times last year out of his games that he did play. So I expect him to pick up right where he left off.
Okay. My other one is Metcalf over 5 reception or higher than 5 receptions. He hit this in the last 3 or 4 games against the Rams, and there's no Ramsey with the Rams anymore. So give me higher than 5 receptions for DK Metcalf.
Okay. I have Alexander Madison higher than 2.5 receptions, Brant. In games last year where he saw over 30% of the snap count, he had over that receptions in 2 out of 4 times. So it's a coin toss, but I expect him to get this done today as the focal point in that backfield, getting the lion's share.
Okay. I've got Waller higher than 4 receptions. If he plays, I know he's iffy, but if he plays, if he doesn't play, you get a push on that. If he does play, I expect him to be targeted heavily and often in that Giants offense.
Okay, Brant. I've got Deontay Johnson higher than 4.5 receptions. He played a full season last year, 17 games. He only had less than 5 times. So this is a pretty good one. I feel like they're going to get off targeting him quickly. I like Deontay Johnson to go well higher than 4.5 today.
Okay. This one was my favorite one. It's Bijan Robinson to score a touchdown. Higher than a half a touchdown receiving or rushing. Give me Bijan Robinson to score a touchdown this week.
I ain't mad at you. You know I ain't mad at you for that one. For me, my last one, I have Dalton Schultz higher than 32.5 receiving yards. I know I said I wanted to cautiously wait to place him in my dynasty starting lineups, but I'm not cautiously waiting for him to go over 32.5 reception yards. Again, this is a guy that we've seen multiple times over in his career as a top 5 tight end. So I put him in there with plenty of faith. 32.5. So pick one, pick two of these that Brant and I have put out and tail them with the Saquon over 1 yard. Put your deposit in there, get you double your entry, and go make you some scratch. Enjoy it. It makes the games a little more fun as well.
Yep.
All right, Brant, we got some more questions coming in. Colby says, 14-team full PPR league. Are we excited about Isaiah Hodges, who is the best wide receiver to have on the Giants?
Excited? No. Playable possibility. Right now, the best catcher on that offense is Waller and Barkley. Neither one has a wide receiver tag on there. But I think Hodges could make some noise there, and being excited, no. But I do think that he could make some noise, especially in a 14-team PPR.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I think Hodgins is the best wide receiver to own here. I think that by the end of the season this year, we will have a definitive answer on who the guy is in the Giants, which is, a complete low-hanging fruit answer here. But, between Wan'Dale Robinson, who's not playing this week, who looked good in his healthy games last year, Jalen Hyatt, the Biletnikoff winner last year in college, Isaiah Hodgins and Shepard and Slayton too is still there. I think we get some kind of an answer as the season goes on, but I think Brant kind of hit the nail on the head. It's probably Waller and Barkley, with a lot of these other guys just having odds and ends plays each week. Brant, go ahead and take this one.
Waller iffy for Sunday night. I have Chig as my backup. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. But the few options on waiver are likely Musgrave and Dulcich. Man, I thought I had it right, and then I read the rest of it and saw the waivers. Oh, man, I don't want to drop Chig. But likely is so intriguing today.
So, okay, Brant, season long, would you drop Chig, who, if he goes off, you're not getting him back on waivers for a 1 week play and likely? That's all.
No, I think I'm going with likely. I think I'm going with to start Chig this week just to be safe, in case Waller doesn't play. I do like Waller above Chig, but I think I'm just going to start Chig just to play it safe this week.
I'm going to drop Chig this week because of the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. Traylon Burks is still there. I think Chig has a fine season. I want Luke Musgrave where I can get Luke Musgrave, Brant, there for Green Bay. And Luke Musgrave is the 4:00 game slates. It gives you that little bit of freedom to hold out and hold hopes for Darren Waller. And Luke Musgrave is the type of tight end that if I drop Chig, somebody else picks him up, my feelings aren't necessarily as hurt in that regard. So I take Luke Musgrave, let Chig go ahead and go to waivers on this one and hold out hope for Waller.
Okay.
All right, Amy says follow up. Go ahead, Brant.
Follow-up question. Follow up on my Kelsey backup question. Looks like Everett is available. Would you pick him up over Musgrave and fill my tight end spot? No, I think I'm starting Musgrave.
Yeah, I agree. Pat says, whoa, the biggest NFL upset week 1. I'm assuming he's saying who's the biggest upset. What do you think, Brant? Are you calling for any upsets here?
Let's see. Let's roll through this. Oh, let's see. If I have to pick an upset, it's the Pats over Philly. New England Patriots over Philadelphia if I'm picking an upset this week. I think that Belichick could find a way to upset them. So that would be my biggest upset this week.
I've got two that I'm kind of staring at here, Brant, a little bit. So first and foremost, I feel pretty strongly about this as not being an upset, but I think the rest of America doesn't feel the same way as I do. I like the Tennessee Titans over the New Orleans Saints today. But the other one that I have I'm going to give a quick shout out and a little bit of homage to the producer of all of the Fantasy Holics podcast networks. I think Josh Rodriguez's New York Giants, Brant, have a very strong chance to beat the Dallas Cowboys today. I wouldn't be a bit shocked at all to see the New York Giants be a lot better than a lot of people expect them to be this year. Maybe even a dark horse to win the NFC East if Philly struggles. But I like the Giants today in that Dallas game. Colby says full point PPR, Isaiah Likely, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet. Who do you take today, Brant?
Today I'm taking Likely. I expect him to fill the void for Andrews. I expect him to see plenty of targets. And like you said, CJ Stroud we're not sure exactly what we're going to get, but I assume Likely will be seeing a lot of targets coming his way.
I go Dalton Schultz in this one, or excuse me, Cole Kmet in this one. Likely is a very, very good backup, feasible starting play behind Mark Andrews. But there is a lot of new pass catching additions in Baltimore. Zay Flowers, OBJ, Rashad Bateman's back. So I think I do kind of pump the brakes a little bit on that tight end. If it was Mark Andrews, without question, I think he should be the leader in targets. I don't know if I feel that same way about Isaiah Likely in that contest. I think Cole Kmet's the number 2 option in Chicago. I had said earlier on today's live that I expect DJ Moore to be drawing up a lot of plays to be involved early in the season. But if you remember last year, Brant, when Justin Fields scrambles around in the pocket and it's a backyard play, Cole Kmet was kind of his guy down the stretch last year. I expect that to still be the same thing today. And again, the other factor is how long is Baltimore passing in that game? So I go Cole Kmet in a game that I expect both teams to be involved the entire time. I just think it's a little safer, in my opinion. All right, Brant, I defer to you on your Seahawks question here. Jay asks, JSN worth a shot in the flex spot or temper expectations in week 1?
Jay, I'd like to see who your other options are. But I'm tempering expectations in week 1. JSN, his wrist scares me. It was 3, maybe 4 weeks ago that it got fractured. I don't know how he's going to take it to a hit. He gets one hit and he ends up dropping the ball as he comes down. That's an incomplete pass. I'm tempering expectations. I absolutely love JSN season long to be holding on to be a flex start week in and week out. But I don't think I can start him this week. I don't. It scares me. It scares me with his wrist.
Yeah, my expectations are tempered this week. I think with DK and Tyler Lockett both healthy, JSN's got he's got to work into it. Like Brant said, the wrist is a little scary. I think this is a completely different question week 5 than it is today. I leave him on my bench this week, even though in dynasty leagues and probably even in redraft, you spent a high draft pick to acquire him. I just don't think I can do it. And also, quick shout out. Any graphics you've ever seen on a FatBoyz post or a FatBoyz video is done right here by this guy, Jay Cahoon. He does all the graphics for most of the graphics for the Fantasy Holics team, and he is an absolute stud. So thank you for that, Jay. Also, speaking of studs, we have Seth Berger, the former IDP export of the Fantasy Holics. Seth, hope all is well. Waller or Isaiah Likely, Brant?
I'm going Waller. I expect him to play, so I'm gonna take Waller in this one.
If he plays, it's Waller again. Like Brant, you had said earlier, I think he's going to be the pass catching leader on this team, especially this week. So I think I go Waller as well. Colby says, hope you guys have an awesome day and a great week 1. Thanks for your help. Colby, thanks for coming in, buddy. We hope to see you again next week. Hopefully you do well this week as well. And Jumbo said, should I be rolling with chicken wings for today's game or some air fryer nachos? I've left JSN in my bench likely for a few weeks. So yeah, I think the JSN stuff's on point. Brant, I think you and I are both going to go here on the same thing. It's chicken wings for week 1, right?
Definitely chicken wings, but yes, I do got the dog question head tilt. Some air fryer nachos surely sound good. But yeah, I'm going chicken wings as well.
All right, let's see. Hector says 1 point PPR. Who do you all like for my third wide receiver spot? Van Jefferson, Addison, or Gabe Davis?
I think I'll go with Addison. I think that game could end up turning into a shootout, and I think Addison could see a lot of targets. So I think I'm going to go with Addison.
Van Jefferson scares me a lot. He feels like he should be the answer here, but he scares me a lot. I don't trust him. Gabe Davis could go for 100 points today or 0. There's not going to be any in between with him. Tomorrow. So Addison feels like the safe play here. Van Jefferson probably is the middle of the road. It could be safe. It could be ugly. And then Gabe Davis is your home run. I always like to hold out hope with Monday night that there's some chance for a miracle, and your team either plays well and you don't need Gabe Davis, or Gabe Davis gives you that chance for a comeback. So Rob says PPR start 2, Jahan Dotson, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Hopkins. Brant, where are you at here?
Dotson is 1. Man, your defense actually scares me this year. I think I'm going to go with Hopkins here. Your defense, Atlanta's defense. I don't know why it is, but Atlanta's defense actually scares me a little bit in fantasy wise. So I think I'm going to go with Dotson and Hopkins.
Yeah, I do expect the Atlanta defense to be much improved this season as the season progresses, but I think I still early take Miles Sanders. I just due to the simple fact that I think they're going to want to ease Bryce into the start. I don't think you're going to see him just gunslinging it all over the place. So I do think you see a healthy dosage of Miles Sanders this week. So I go Dotson and Sanders. Hopkins is the best play in my mind in this, but if Tennessee goes 30 carries for Derrick Henry, there's probably not a whole lot left over for Hopkins, and that does worry me just a little bit. So I'll go Dotson and Sanders. Tony says, are you worried about the weather today with it raining with Waller? Yes, I am. It's going to be a monsoon condition. I don't know if anybody's seen the stuff from the Yankee Stadium with all the flooding. I am nervous about the weather in New York today. I'm actually a little nervous about the weather in New York for tomorrow. It dips below 50% for the game for Monday Night Football, like right before the game. But today is going to be a rainy mess in East Rutherford. I am a little nervous, but again, if Waller plays, I think Waller is one of the safer pass catching options, just because he's going to be working with a relatively short ADOT, middle of the field. If I had to trust a pass catcher in New York, that would be it. There is some other rain games today, but before I get into those, Brant, I'll let you take this one.
I'm not too worried about it. Just like you hit the nail on the head with the average depth of target and everything else, that where Waller sits in the middle of the field, it should be the safer targets actually with Waller. So I think Waller may actually benefit a little bit from this bad weather, just because he will be the closest target, the safer target. Him and Barkley will be.
All right, real quick before we get to the menu week, Brant, you've got rain in Arizona at Washington, rain in Houston at Baltimore, good chance for storms at Vegas at Denver, and also chance for storms at Philadelphia at New England. And then you do get into Monday or Sunday night's game with a chance of rain. So just be mindful of that. That definitely can have an outcome on fantasy. I don't expect it to change things too drastically. Brant, what is on the menu this week?
On the menu, I got the smoker warming up before we started this morning. I've got some smoked chicken wings, some smoked ribs, and then the kids wanted to throw down some appetizers, so we got some onion rings and mozzarella sticks. We'll have our full-blown spread out there on the table, and then as people pass the table, they just eat as they please. Starting hopefully around 2:00, all the food will be done, because after 3, there's no chance of me getting out of my chair once my Seahawks start.
Well, I just assume, because you are fat, that your chair is pulled up to the table. Other people can come pick things up as they go. You just stay pulled up to it. That's how
they have to walk. They have to walk right by this entrance right here, right past my chair. They will bring me a plate of what I yell for.
Fair enough. For me, I got to give a shout out to my favorite homie. The little dude in my house turns 3 today. So we're having a T-Rex themed birthday party. So we're going to be doing some dino nugs. We got some loaded potato soup, and then we're going to do some pretzel bites and some other stuff later. But first part of the day is hanging out with little dude, celebrating him. So that means I do get some cupcakes too later. So you can't be upset about that, Brant. But not necessarily the best football menu for the week. but definitely the best menu for celebrating Kellen and his dinosaur themed party.
Bro, you can't go wrong with Dino Nuggies, man. You can't go wrong any day of the week with Dino Nuggies.
Hey, I'm not saying I'm going to eat a ton of them, but I'm not saying I'm not. I'm going to be what made the dinosaurs go extinct today. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in with us this week. It's great to be back. It's great to be doing football again. All off season is come to today. Everything comes to a head. It'll be very exciting. We've got a great slate of football today. NFL did us right with the scheduling of these games, Brant. I am uber excited for this week's football.
Absolutely, guys. Enjoy your drinks, enjoy your food, enjoy some football today. It's back. We finally made it. It's back. Sundays are finally here. And as always, stay hungry
and stay fat, my friends.